Welcome back to the show. I'm Matt Corbett. This is John Patterson, and this is Sports Forensics and Picks. And today we're talking about the NFL slate, Week 2 Sunday matchups. And I got to say, I was really excited. I watched all the film and watched all the highlights. All right. I saw every game. I was at the Bills game, but I rewatched a ton of tape. And after seeing all of it, I was really excited about my picks. I picked a lot of favorites. But then I talked to John, and I realized that I might be Joe better this week. So
Hmm.
we'll see. We will see. But let's just start talking about some games. I know you don't have a play necessarily on every game, John, but
No.
I'm going to talk about them anyway. I think here, first game, Vegas Raiders at the Baltimore Ravens. I think the Ravens, they had some extra rest. They're playing on Thursday night, and coming into week 2, the Raiders really did not look good to me. The defense is bad. The offense is bad. Gardner Minshew can't hit a pool standing on a concrete slab that surrounds a pool. So the line right now, 8.5, -8.5 for Baltimore. I have to go Baltimore here.
I'm not just playing devil's advocate. I'm going with the Raiders. This line started at 9.5. The Raiders didn't show a squat last week. Devontae Adams and Minshew, they were not in sync. They didn't even really throw him the ball. The running game of the Raiders, that couldn't get going. I mean, Madison ended up seeing more touches than White. So they just look bad. The Chargers made them look bad and completely just took them out. They were out of sync the entire game. The Raiders were. However, we were so bullish on the Chargers. There's no way Harbaugh was going to lose his first game at home at a stadium where the Raiders normally outnumber Charger fans. And so we were all over the Chargers. Good thing they took care of business 22-10. It was or 32. I don't know. It wasn't close. The Chargers handled business. They looked good. But I expect the Raiders to show up. This line has been bet down by a point. So you give me those 8.5 all day long. I'm not going to say it's going to be an upset. But I
Backdoor
really
cover at the end of the game, perhaps.
no. I just think it's going to be close, and who knows? It may come down to a fourth down comeback victory for Lamar Jackson. His
Mhm.
18th of his career or whatever. But yeah, I like the points. I think they're strong.
All right. Well, that gets us into the next game, the Chargers and the Carolina Panthers. Now that we brought up the Chargers here, they took on the Raiders last week. And this game's interesting because, Carolina got destroyed a week ago against the Saints, and
They were worse than a college team, weren't they?
they sure were. It was not pleasant to watch. They could not get anything going on either side of the ball. And this week, this line, I believe it started at 4.5, is now.
No. It started at 6.5. Chargers and think about it. Chargers, the way they looked against the Raiders, winning with Harbaugh coming in, contrast that versus the way Carolina looked, getting getting the blown away by New Orleans, as you say, and so I would say that Joe
Joe.
is seeing that Chargers -6.5 at the time when it opened and saying, "Oh, they'll kill them by they only need to win by a touchdown." That's Joe. Oh, I'm gonna go take out some money on my home equity line and put it on the Chargers. Yeah, well, that guy's gonna lose. In fact, this one now is down to 5. The Chargers are bet down to, or I'm sorry, the line's been bet down to 5. So there's some serious money coming in on the points for Carolina, and good reason. They looked so bad that who would have the guts to put their money on them? Well, lo and behold, a lot of people, because it's gone from 6.5 Chargers favored to 5. So I am still on Carolina. And I remember the last time the Chargers played, and Steve Smith was on Carolina back then, but the Chargers went into the game 9.5 point favorites, and they lost. The Chargers lost outright. So this is definitely a potential upset, but I will not bet that. I will just take the points and count it free money.
Excellent. So we do agree on the Panthers cover with the points there.
Yeah, but the early money got the Panthers plus 6.5. So
Yeah.
that's
So
one of the things about waiting around. When you see a game where 80% of the money is going to go on one side early in the week, get it early, because you don't want to be the guy that bets it just before the game starts and it's down to 4, and then it ends up, say, or 3.5, and say it does end up a 5 or a 4 point game where you get your toes cut off. The early money gets the worm and you get burned. So don't be that guy.
well said. Well, let's talk about the Saints then, because the Saints are the team that beat up on the Panthers. So um, they play the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas. 6.5 point favorite for the Dallas Cowboys currently. Um,
Yes.
Now, if I'm thinking I'm Joe Better, I want to go with the Saints, but I like the Cowboys in this one to cover that 6. What do you think? Any opinion?
Yeah, I think. Well, I just think the Cowboys are a much better team. I don't think there's anything suspicious at all about this line. I would, and again, the beatdown that the Saints put on last week, has people looking at them. I although I didn't see Olave get involved in the game the way I expected him to. I liked the fact that they got Kamara
Alvin.
at the ball, and he looked really good. He looked strong. Carr looked great. And why is Shaheed such a surprise? It's like every year, it's like nobody even drafts him, and then he goes and has like a 50-yard plus touchdown score on the very first game. They have some deep threats, but Olave's the big guy there. Both teams have good offenses. Dallas's is better, so I'm with you on Dallas. Although I'm not touching this game, I'm not bullish on it. I won't say, "Hey, I was right about Dallas" if they end up covering, because I don't care. I'm just not into this game at all.
Heard and agreed. All right, well, let's talk about a game that you are interested in. The Indianapolis Colts travel to Lambeau Field. They take on the Packers, a Jordan Loveless Packers football team. I think they're going to start Malik Willis this week.
Yeah, they're not. Oh boy. So okay, well then,
I think they're
I
three
think
point.
it's easy to say it's so early in the year. I mean,
Yeah.
both teams have a lot of competition, so and it makes sense given this line. You have the visiting team favored by the field goal. I say with all confidence, just bet the Colts. They're a really strong team. I liked them last week to cover against Texans right here on the show. It was a close game. We knew it would be, but they even looked better than I expected them to. I almost thought that, might take a little bit of Hollywood to get that within a desirable outcome, but they seemed like the better team actually last week, even though they lost in Houston. So I'm definitely going to ride with the Colts, that high-powered running attack, and they now have a better passing attack than Green Bay because, like you said, there is no more love in Green Bay, at least for now. So, yeah, bet the Colts with confidence.
Loveless for 3 to 6 weeks. Yeah,
That sounds like me.
I'm on the Colts as well.
I'll take the over on that line, by the way.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah. I think I don't know what the over under is, but do you have it?
Oh no, I was talking about being loveless in Seattle, or what was it?
Loveless in Green Bay.
Yeah, three.
Seattle.
Yeah. Let's take that over. Fun and joke aside, yeah. If they don't have love until probably week, like I said, 6 or 7,
Yeah.
and depending on how well the team's doing, it might be more than that. If there are 3 or 4 games behind the leader in that division, you might just see a stink show from that team to put themselves in a position for a top draft pick next year. It happens all the time. In fact, they're playing against the Colts. They're known for doing that. They did it to get Manning. They did it to get Andrew Luck. This is the type of thing that happens all the time in professional sports. And when you have such a small sample of games, the season can get out of hand really, really quick. So I do hope, for the benefit of the sport, the Green Bay fans, and all fans, that he
The
comes back
cheese
healthy and quick. Yeah.
Heard and agreed. The Jets and the Titans. The Jets looked okay on Monday night. Snoozer. The Titans. Hey, I was excited. I thought I was a genius taking the Titans over the Bears a week ago to win that game outright. And I
Yeah,
was
you owe me
sitting
a
there at
buck
the
on that
Bills
one.
game. I was like, oh man, look at this score. I'm gonna kill this pick. And then I was like, wait, what? How did the Bears win this game? And it sure wasn't Caleb Williams. So uh,
No, in fact, that surprised me.
yeah,
Caleb, they won. The Bears won despite Caleb Williams. Their defense looked really great, although they're going to have too much of a challenge this week, right?
in Houston, yeah.
The Bears dealing with Houston. It's going to be. I think Houston just pummels them because that team had no sync. Keenan Allen looked foolish. They couldn't get DJ Moore the ball. They had no running game with Swift, and of course Caleb didn't even throw a decent pass, caught or not, until the second half.
Right.
Uh, they looked real bad. They couldn't protect him, so he was running and just making bad decisions. They looked like a poor team. I cannot believe they came back from the deficit they did to win that game. So they're basically a couple of gifts.
And
That
quite frankly, the Titans are probably not a very good team either. I'd be surprised if they win 4 or 5 games this year, honestly. So
well, I don't like the Titans this week, but I'm in the midterm, not just short term. And in the short term, no, but in the midterm, let alone long term, I really like the Titans. I like D Hop and Ridley. They can spread the field. They can run routes. They can create separation, even at the old age of Hopkins. I think that he could still do that, and I still think that Levis hasn't really shook that I'm in the NFL now, mom,
right.
mentality. He needs to know that he's a pro on a pro team, and he's got a pro caliber arm, and he's got a little bit of guts. He's got a little bit of chutzpah, but he's just got to realize that he belongs, and as soon as he believes in himself, the rest of us can follow suit because he's good. I watched him a lot in college, and I know what kind of player he is. He's tough. I just didn't think it was in the cards for them last week because you had Caleb Williams in a week one with all that's behind him, and just kind of the way the NFL is with historical games. We might, in fact, who knows? If they weren't playing the Jets team that looked so bad on the first Monday night game of the season. I always love teams to rebound after being humiliated on Monday night, Thursday night, basically your high handle games, because so many people see how crappy they are and think, oh my God, they sucked. I watched that game. Well, everybody watched that game. And so I think that plus 3.5 at home, though, for the Titans, I don't buy that. This is where we apply the home field advantage. Switch that 8 points. Would the Jets be 11.5-point favorites at home against the Titans?
Probably not.
That's why I love the 3 and a hook. I'm laying them. And give me the Jets. You're going to see Aaron Rodgers. Breece Hall looked great. He really did. I think he might have the best season as a running back this year. If you have a chance to trade for him in fantasy, you nerds, do it. I just did. I did it today. Pulled off 3 blockbusters with my nephews to do it, but we got him. And I'm telling you, that dude is 3 arrows up. Breece Hall is the real deal. And Aaron Rodgers, the dude is wily. He's Aaron Rodgers. He's a stud. You may not like him personally. You might not like his politics or the fact that he's actually got a sack, between his legs. But that dude is still a serious baller, and that team is gonna be out for blood this week. So I'm taking the Jets minus 3.5.
I love the pick. I'm on the Jets as well. Now, the Niners that beat the Jets. The Niners are going on the road now. They won't have Christian McCaffrey again this week. They take on the Minnesota Vikings, who beat up on the Giants a week ago. And I think what the line moved a little bit. Was it 5.5? I forgot what it was here.
I see it at 5 now. You tell me who you got on this one. I'm pretty sure we might have the same pick, but I just kind of want to hear where you're coming from, because I'm going to come from a completely different place. I guarantee it.
I'm Joe Better this week. I love the Niners. I think the Niners win this game by at least 10 points. Sure, the Vikings look great. Darnold was delivering the football. Jefferson was getting involved, getting his touches. Not many, but he did get them. But I mean, ultimately, this is a terrible Giant team. Terrible Giant team they played. And I just don't think the Vikings are as good as that score represented a week ago. And I loved everything that the Niners did. I think the Jets are a pretty good football team, and I think they have a good defense and some weapons. So the fact that the Niners were able to look good against them, they should look even better this week against the Vikings.
Yeah, I agree with you, and just like the game we talked about, the Jets Tennessee game, I'm just simply going to apply the home field statute to this. If this were in San Francisco, the 4-point home field advantage would, if you want to call it 3.5, fine. It's either going to be a 7-point swing or an 8. Let's call it a 7-point swing. That would mean that San Francisco would be a 12-point favorite at home, and this is on the heels of Christian McCaffrey being ruled out. So now, granted, his backup, his handcuff, just was all world. He ran 28 carries, 140 some on rushing yards. He was an absolute beast. I don't know if it's Jordan Mason or Mason Jordan. I don't know. But anyway,
Mason. Either way, it's Mason.
Mason. Jordan Mason or Mason Jordan?
I think it's Jordan Mason.
Okay, well, I'll put $1 on that too. I don't even know which one I have, but one of us is going to be right. One of us is going to wrong. We got to keep the money moving.
50-50.
But the line didn't move once they announced today officially that McCaffrey's out. And obviously McCaffrey was arguably the number 1 pick in all fantasy drafts. So when that guy is just ruled out for the week,
right,
and there's no movement in the line, that tells me they already had that cooked in. And so being 5-point road dogs or road favorites, they were only 4-point favorites at home with the Packers and no McCaffrey, and they covered that easily, and it did go over. But I like Frisco. I think that they should win rather easily, although I don't expect the same type of output from the running back position. I think there's going to be a lot more involvement of the Kittles and the Ayuks and the Debos of the world. They're going to have to keep this guy healthy because they're probably going to ride him for another couple more weeks. It's my guess that since McCaffrey's already out too, they're probably just going to go ahead and put him on the list. Guarantee he'll probably miss the first 4 weeks. So happy I traded him.
You're a genius.
Evil germ.
Well, that was our league, right? So that's the Forensic Sports Fantasy Football League that you had first.
That's right.
You took McCaffrey, and now he's gone.
And now we gone.
Now you're a genius. So, but yeah, he probably won't be out for at least the first.
Actually, no. Scratch that. I haven't been able to. Since it's our league, I don't want to be the first one to initiate a trade. No, I picked up the handcuff and traded him to the guy who has McCaffrey, and I used that as a way with a couple other players as a way to end up getting Breece Hall.
Indeed.
For $1 billion. So yeah, I feel pretty good about that. But anyway, yeah, San Francisco seems like a good pick, but not so fast. Be very careful. The points could cover because there should still be a lot of money on San Francisco. So I'm not going to bet San Francisco -5, but I think they are a very, very safe bet. Last week, they won the game handily. They covered. I see them winning, but they might not cover as it's less than a touchdown. So just be careful. Do I see an upset with Minnesota? No, not at all. I don't. But just be careful. Be really careful with this. They'll win. They might cover, but they might win and not cover. I think that's almost more likely.
Could be a 3 or 4 point game. But
sure.
But I think I don't know. I think they're going to be fine. Cincinnati, this is a game. This is a football game here. Cincinnati coming off a loss to New England. Oh, the new coach, Gerard Mayo, former Mill linebacker. Shit, guys like Mayo, who played for that franchise and then become the head coach. You get D'Amico Ryans, a guy that played for that franchise, becomes their head coach. Kind of cool. Excited for both of those players. But of course, Mayo getting the win last week against the Bengals for the Patriots. And yeah, I mean, the Bengals just didn't look like they showed up. I mean, there was some turnovers. It was kind of a boring, slow game, not a lot of action. I don't think the Patriots are that good or anything. I don't think the Bengals are necessarily that bad. There's a lot of distractions right now in Cincinnati with the receivers, the T. Higgins ordeal, the Jamar Chase, the Jamar Chase Brown. Okay. Yeah. So really, I think the Bengals, in a state of disarray, go into Kansas City. I love the Chiefs. I love the Chiefs in this game. Tell me why I'm wrong, John.
I'll tell you why you're wrong. First of all, who was it that went on this show last week and said, watch out, the Bengals are taken by everybody? Newsweek showed that the Bengals took 50% of all survivor pool players out of the contest in week 1. Who said that that was going to happen?
You did.
This guy, you know what? I don't like to puff out my chest too much, but it just happens all the time. It's stupid. And so we just said, hey, look, if you're going to bet the Patriots, you bet them on the money line, because they got a first-year coach who's taken over after Belichick, who, if they lost that game, it would be the end of the world in Boston, in the so yeah, the harbor, it would be in ruins. There would be mutiny. There'd be blood all the asphalt. But no,
Another tea party.
we knew that the Patriots were going to win, not because they're a better team, not even because they're a good team. I think you still think, Matt, that they're a better team than I do. I think they're one of the 5 worst teams in the league, and that's giving them credit. And I still bet them to win outright as openers at 9.5-point dogs. But that was all about the survivor pool. Again, Vegas does not want you playing in a survivor pool because you bet one time and you just ride it. Could be 3/4 of the season before you're out, and they're not taking your money from you. And they don't like that.
Yeah.
So having said that, the Bengals, yeah, I knew they'd lose last week. Was I shocked? Absolutely not. But boy, did I see it everywhere. Whoa, it's a shocker. Can you believe it? Impossible happened in week 1. Good Lord. We hear that all the time. But here's the deal. This Kansas City, Cincinnati Bengals matchup is nothing more than Joe Burrow healthy against Patrick Mahomes healthy. So here's the question. Which team wins by 3 points? Since the Bengals are getting the 5.5 or 6, whatever it might be, you take the points and you count your money. That simple. It doesn't matter who wins. Although if the Bengals win, which I don't know if I expect them to, because they're plus 230 on the money line at 6. That might even be a little bit too high. I don't have the guts to do that. If it were plus 6, plus 200, I'd like it a whole lot more. And we talked about that a little bit earlier on one of the other shows. I think Matt brought it up. It made some very, very great points. Yeah, I like them at plus 200, but not plus 230. Excuse me, wouldn't you make more money at plus 230? Yeah, but I won't win, so that means I would lose. Make sense? Make enough sense to not make sense? Exactly. But whenever these two guys plays, whether it's regular season or in the playoffs, it's always a 3-point game because it's always a good game. So let's ask ourselves this question. What's the over-under line on it? Oh, it's 48. I love the over. These guys are just going to show what they got. It's going to be a seesaw battle. It's going to be great for TV. It is a 1 o'clock game, but the other ones are Pittsburgh versus Denver and the Rams against Arizona. Those are brutal games compared to KC with Mahomes and Cincinnati with Joe Burrow. And you're going to see Jamar Chase. He's going to have an insane game. These things are going to happen. So if you DFS it, if you do daily fantasy, take Burrow, take nothing but Bengals because they're all cheap. You can have Burrow, Jamar, who's not cheap, and even their running back,
Moss.
Zach Moss. He's going to have a good game. He'll be carrying the ball. He'll get 100 yards. I'll bet you right now $1. I say Zach Moss gets 100 yards against a team that absolutely stifled and stopped, a stud rusher last week. They couldn't get anything last week on KC. But I think that the Bengals Chiefs, it's going to be a great game, and I expect it to be decided by a field goal because it always happens that way. Check your history.
Well, the history books don't lie. All right.
No, but they can be rewritten.
Can be. Yeah, I mean, I think if there's ever a time for this not to be a close game, it's right now. I think the Bengals, that's why I'm going the Chiefs in this one. I think they win by at least 10 points.
But,
yeah. And the Chiefs, I mean, think about this. I picked against the Chiefs, the Raven game week 1, but I still am on the Chiefs to win, a three-peat here for the Super Bowl. And I'm a Buffalo Bills fan. Okay, guys, it's crazy. But anyway, the point is,
you were a Buffalo Bills fan. That's just absolute blasphemy.
It really is. It really is. I just think, without going down the league is rigged, without going down the rabbit hole, which we kind of flirt with a little bit with some of the things we say, because hey,
probably too much.
Vegas, Vegas isn't going to let you. I mean, so am I Joe better? KC maybe, but I do like Seattle -3.5 against New England. I think you agree with that pick as well.
Yeah, I have nothing to say there. New England sucks, and Seattle didn't show how good they really are. I mean, they're not a flashy team, and so when they don't have a good game and they're not a flashy team, they look horrible. They're not. I look for Geno to bounce back, and let's look for they're just going to have a really good game. He's going to have a lot of yards. They're going to probably score 28, 30 points, and New England will be somewhere in the teens if they're lucky.
Absolutely. My pick for this game is 24-13, Seattle. The Hawks!
Nice.
Which you can see all my picks and scores on Corbett Claw NFL YouTube channel. That video will be coming out at some point shortly. It's all very exciting. But there is a couple more games we want to touch upon here briefly. The Steelers against Denver. So Denver was the team that played Seattle a week ago. And, they frankly did not look that good. We were excited about Bo Nix.
Oh, my God. Bo Nix.
Yeah.
At first I said, don't nix him from your parlay. No, nix him from your parlay. There was just part of me that said, that does not sound right. And boy, he looked horrible. So guess who got dropped this week immediately? Bo Nix looks so bad. It's not the kind of thing. I mean, he's a rookie. So as bad as he looked, it wasn't just a bad game, because you don't start game one as a rookie looking that bad and just turn it around like it was nothing. So maybe veterans can do that because of rust, old age, you name it. But I expected a whole lot more from him.
Needless to say, it could be
Sean Payton's got to be hating not being in New Orleans anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he inherited just a sloppy mess over there. But either way, I think I'm on Pittsburgh against Denver. I think Pittsburgh's defense is just fantastic. The studs they have, the ability to force turnovers, led by TJ Watt. You got Minka Fitzpatrick, you got Tracy Porter Jr., you got the new linebacker Queen, who didn't do that much a week ago, but nonetheless, I just think there's no way Denver is going to be able to put up points on the Steelers. And this is regardless of who's playing quarterback for the Steelers. I don't care if Kenny Pickett comes back to town and plays. I still would like the Steelers this week. Okay. So that being said, last game we're
I will say this. If anything, I would take the under in that, because both teams have really good defenses. I don't like the quarterback on either team. And of course, being the signal caller and the executioner of these plays, I just see a lot of ground and pound, more pounding, and probably some intentional grounding. But I don't expect any more than a few field goals, perhaps a defensive score or two, but no more than one or two offensive scores.
So more pounding than grounding, but some grounding.
Sure. Usually intentional grounding because they don't want to take a sack.
Right.
But they're too stupid to throw the ball out of bounds. Yeah.
Was it who had two safeties a week ago? Was it Seattle against Denver? Was it that game? There's two safeties.
I think it was. I think it was a different game, but yeah, there was some good defense being played, but it could have been that game.
Yeah, either way.
No, but Pittsburgh's defense looked really, really good, and to be honest, their rushing attack didn't look bad at all either.
That looked pretty good.
But Fields proved that he's not an efficient passer.
No, absolutely not.
Or a decisive one. I think it's probably more of that. I think that's more his issue.
Yeah,
He's always kind of looking to say, "Oh, am I going to have to run? Am I going to have to run? If so, where do I run?" And it's blowing up his reads.
Mm-hmm. And by the time you're thinking about that, it's already over. I mean, when you're at the end of your drop, the best quarterbacks know where the ball's going, and if it's not going to that first read, it's got to be going to the second. And if it's not going to the second, you're probably under pressure by then, and if you're not, you're sacked. So,
I would take Aaron Rodgers going out on the field with a walker over either of these two quarterbacks.
Just keep him in the shotgun about 8 yards back.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
So, and then I think that's about it. I mean, we talked about the Bears and Houston. Well, we touched on them. I like Houston. What do you like there?
I like Houston too. I think it's 6.5. I think right now, I like Houston to cover. Like I said, I'm taking a lot of favorites this week just because these teams look so good and their opponents look so poor. But again, that's how they get you. That's how they get Joe better. So you got to be cautious about this. And one thing that's wonderful that we talked about was that pick'em league that I'm in, where it's like 200 people and you pick the games every week. The lines lock on Tuesday. They used to update throughout the week, but so what the line is on Tuesday, and you can change your picks and everything right up until kickoff of each game. But what happens is in this league, they don't show you. I mean, you can once the line's locked when the kickoff goes, you can see your opponents who they picked, which teams they picked. But before that, you can't. However, what you can see is the percentage of which team people in the league are picking.
And this is against the spread, right?
This is against the spread, yes.
Perfect. That's great info.
It's incredible, and it's one of those things where obviously people are pretty much 50-50 on the spread, the average picker, which is that makes sense. If you could get
on a straight line, correct? Meaning, say a 6-point spread, but it makes sense. You don't know who to pick. It's
right. Yeah.
A true -110 pick. Yes.
Yeah. So that's what all these are. And that's, what gets picked. But when you can see, hey, 70% of people are on this pick and only 30 are on this one, that's when sometimes you jump on that other side because, it's just when I found out that when I started doing that with that information, I was more successful just because that's the way it's set up. It's set up to trick you. And that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to partner with John and do this channel because, I'm not ashamed to say I'm still learning. I've been picking football games for, over 15 years myself. And, now I'm excited to just become better at it.
Yeah. In fact, here's a pro hack for everybody because exactly what Matt is talking to. If you made it this far, this is actually the most gold part because and this is 30 years ago. We used to be in a competitive bowling league, but
less than a minute left, John.
Okay. All right. You know what? I'm going to talk about it on another time. But bottom line, you know what? Start your own pool with people who like to bet. Use it on the spreads. Analyze that data. If you see 3/4 of the money on one side and not the other, you know where to bet during the weekend.